could it be better? Probably could. If Spain's beating you, Germans aren't polite. You'll see this sign which looks like a square fried egg. This is going to be the most stupid video I've ever done. Mahlzeit, welcome back, Richie here again, and as I say, this video is going to be a bit silly. It's a bit stupid really. Was meinst du mit dieses Video? Wir sind alle doof. Thank you Germany for the feedback. Now the point is, this is obviously a little bit of clickbait. Who would come and live in a country by choice if they hated it? So there's nothing really I do hate about Germany, but I just thought maybe I'm just lacking in a few ideas this weekend trying to produce a video. But anyway, here are the things. I'm going to be thinking back and trying to think what was weird for me when I first came over, maybe what was unusual, what do I still maybe find unusual, what do I find hard to get used to that's typically German. Number one then, and I've put here, this is impoliteness. I talk about the benefits of this and what I like about the direct way in which Germans speak to people and the confidence that they have and stuff. And also I think it's a function of the German language. German language is much more direct as well, and the British, quite rightly, have a reputation of being very polite and using lots of formal politeness. Please and thank you is the absolute minimum. If you were asking for something, could I please have, may I have, etc. Lots of kind of like subjunctives, soften the thing, and German language functions a lot differently to that. It's also okay, sort of like to ask for something. Ich hätte gern zwei Brötchen. But Germans do have also a direct character, and you know, also, I told you it was a stupid video. I've also talked about this, about being an advantage, about being a positive, telling people things like it is, and it's obviously something that I really actually find valuable, find good, telling people what you think, speaking your mind. But it's something, if you are from Britain, we kind of dance around subjects, and we definitely use lots of conventions of politeness in our language that Germans don't use, but a lot of other languages don't use as well. So it can be difficult when you first come over. Germans aren't polite. We mistake confidence of the Germans and the matter-of-factness of the Germans as the British as being arrogant sometimes. Big stereotype that Germans are arrogant. Check out this other video that I made when I talk about that, stereotypes that have got a little bit of truth in them, and I talked about that in there. I remember taking I think it was a Spanish class, one of my colleagues in a Spanish class in England just before I moved to Germany, and he said, we were talking about me moving to Germany, and he said, oh yeah, and I know about the Germans, and he had this thing, he said, you meet Germans and they say, you're talking about something that is in Britain, I don't know, this type of shop or this type of piece of technology, and the typical German response is, yes, we have something like this, very similar in Germany, but everything there is a little bit better. There's some truth in it. Germans are direct, not always as polite or as flowery. It's flowery language that the British use. I don't hate it. You get used to it. I'm very direct myself. Sorry about that. Let's move on to number two. This one then is actually probably one of my more serious points, and that is, it's discussed at all levels, certainly in politics, and I hear this quite a lot. It's a common grumble of, particularly during the pandemic, of German people, especially German parents that've got kids at schools, say digitalisation in Germany really isn't as advanced as you would expect from such a wealthy, progressive, advanced nation. Also with a technical background, no? Technical industries and stuff. And I have to say, that's, on a personal level, that's my experience too. I came back to Germany having lived in Spain, and you think Spain, you know, not quite as advanced as Germany, you'd not expect them to be as digitalised and stuff. But I remember very specifically having like a login with the local municipal authorities, so the equivalent of the Rathaus, the Stadt, in Spain they talk about it being the town hall. The town hall is the word they use to represent all the municipal authorities, and I had a login and an ID thing, and I could do so many like personal trámites, what it was said in Spanish, sort of official things like, whereas you would have to go to the actual office, go down to the town hall and, you know, registering things. I remember one particular thing, if you were importing consumer goods, you bought something from abroad, because the Canary Islands is their own Zollzone, their own customs zone, customs area, you would sometimes have to process things through customs, and that was all online. You could do that with your ID. You had this electronic ID, and it was so good for so many everyday things. If something gets stopped in customs here, you get a thing in the post, it takes days and you have to go, and it's in Dortmund where I live, I had to travel, it was more than half an hour on a tram. It's like the other end of town, it's like almost in the next town. Digitalisation in Germany really isn't very far advanced, and I think the parents among you, if you've got kids in school, how's that working? I know the kids are supposed to be learning from home now, they're homeschooling, all connected with the schools and stuff, and I hear it's not going too well. But then again, I don't have any kids, so I don't know. Digitalisation in Germany, could it be better? Probably could. If Spain's beating you. Point 3 is also reasonably serious, but it's something that definitely has changed. As I say, I was away in Spain and came back, and this one for me had changed over time. This is even an inside gag. This is a joke that Germans make about themselves. They refer to Germany as the service desert, Servicewüste Deutschland, and it's about customer service. Customer service in Germany is notoriously bad. Waiting staff, people attending to you in shops, shop assistants, wherever. If you go to, as I say, go to the town hall, you will be dealt with very little politeness, and you can really expect grumpy responses. There's an anecdote I particularly remember from a friend that told me it was in Hornbach one time. Hornbach is like the DIY home and garden type place, hardware store, big hardware store in Germany, big chain. And they have a wood department. You can go buy wood, and you can have your wood cut to size on the big saw and stuff. There's an extra saw department. There's somebody operating a saw for you. But you are expected, of course, to buy your wood first and then have it sawn, rather than get it sawn into pieces that nobody else wanted and then discover, oh dear, I've got it cut to the wrong size and I'm going to leave it here. So it's understandable. But, you know, won't be tied. You didn't know this process, and you go to the saw department. The guy that working on the saw was quite often to be heard to say, "Hier kriegen Sie erstmal gar nichts." Literally, you're not getting anything from me right now. Meaning, rather than just say, "Oh, excuse me, but you have to actually pay for the wood before you actually come and make use of the saw service." No. Hier kriegen Sie erstmal gar nichts. From me, you're not getting anything until you've paid. It was, I have to say, way back when I first came over here, was the norm. But as I said just before, we went away to Spain, which is the absolute opposite. People in service industries are absolutely wonderful. It's another stereotype, but generally really, really friendly. They may be more or less qualified, maybe more or less competent, but you'll be served with a smile. And we noticed when we came back that something had changed. We were going to shops and we weren't necessarily finding the most naturally friendly staff, but there was definitely somebody who's been going around training these people on customer service. It seemed slightly forced and scripted, which has always been my criticism of the USA. When I went to the USA, customer service is really, really excellent, especially in the catering industry and waiting staff. You know, their wages part of their wages depend on tipping, so they're generally really, really professional, really, really polite. And I always found it kind of fake. It was kind of like, you could be having a really shitty day, but you've got to put on this smile, and it all seemed really fake. And now a similar thing happened in Germany. It seems there's been this wave. Is it true? As I suppose there's more and more call centres opening, and people are being trained with specific scripts and things. It seemed to have hit the bigger stores as well, like the big department stores like Pirk and Kloppenburg. The service was better. People were trained, but you could tell their heart wasn't in it. So maybe, I don't know, Servicewüste Deutschland, Service Desert Germany, customer service in Germany is bad. Is that true? You can get grumpy English people, certainly, if you go into a shop in England and it's the wrong time of day. You'll get an honest version of a person. I don't know. You tell me. Number 4, this is something I think is true about the German psyche, the German personality. There's a great phrase for it in German, and I'd say, jeder muss seinen Senf dazugeben. Literally, everybody has to add their own little bit of mustard, and it's Germans are quite happy to poke their nose into other people's business. Now, say this can be annoying. You can be out, I don't know, certainly if people want to tell you that you're breaking the rules. I don't know, you're in a bus and you're sitting in the wrong seat and it's reserved for mothers or elderly people and you haven't seen the sign. Someone's going to tell you, "Da dürfen Sie nicht sitzen. You can't sit there, move, that's not for you." And there's quite a lot of that. But at the same time, this is a good thing in that if something genuinely seriously bad is going on, like someone's being abused in public transport, like I've seen quite really positive examples of people butting in, and what people in Germany call Zivilcourage. It's like, it's good for the petty things to keep yourself to yourself and keep your nose in your own business and don't, butt into other people's business if it's really petty and annoying, not really important. But if somebody's being, I don't know, racially abused, I've seen some great videos where particularly foreign citizens being abused by racists in public transport, and elderly Germans will intervene and show what is called Zivilcourage. It's literally civil courage, which is like standing up for what's right. So it's positive and negative. I can't say I hate it. Definitely if you're coming to Germany and you are English and you're used to people being reserved and not really telling you anything, keeping themselves to themselves, even the little things, you're going to be reminded, someone's going to tell you, you shouldn't do that or you should do this. And again, I don't hate it. My last one then, this is a list of 5 things, by the way, I didn't mention that at the beginning. 5 things, I thought of 5 things that I really hate in Germany. And this one, I have to say, is a bit annoying. For people who've learnt to drive elsewhere, this idea of rechts vor links. The people coming from the right have priority, Vorfahrt, over those coming from the left. Now, first of all, it doesn't work. If you've got a crossroads and there are 4 cars at the crossroads, you've got 4 cars coming from 4 different directions all at the same time. Who has priority over whom? And also, the nature of this is that it's so much now the exception to the rule that everywhere else you'll see this sign which looks like a square fried egg. I remember my parents learning all about this before they came over to Germany, because we drove over on holiday. They're learning, oh, what's this square fried egg and what's right in front of left? The traffic from the right has priority. What am I going to do? And nowadays you just see there are so many, certainly in built up areas where there is a lot of traffic, there will be, this is the most common sign ever. It's totally stupid to me. You just really don't have to worry about this rule anymore, because everywhere there is a square fried egg sign, because everywhere there's quite obviously a main road and a kind of auxiliary road, a minor road. It's clear who's going to have the right of way, who's going to have priority. That's what I'm saying. Vorfahrt is right of way, I would say, rather than priority. Or maybe the same. Maybe they're the same. Maybe they're both okay. But yeah, so when you do get out into a place where there is no square fried egg, it's going to be a really minor back road where there's hardly any traffic anyway, and it's like, even then, one road is going to be a more minor road joining a major road, and the amount of traffic that's going to be on that road anyway, it's going to be like gentleman's agreement. It's going to be like, there you go before me. And this whole right of way for the traffic coming from the right is really silly. But then again, I hate driving, and I've been in Germany so long that I am poking my nose into the business of the Germans and telling them what to do and what not to do. I'm sorry. Well, you've made it this far through this video, so thank you very, very much indeed. It was a bit of nonsense. I made my home in Germany. Certainly don't hate Germany, and it was just a bit of clickbait, as I say. But I did touch on some things that are different between the British and the German psyche, and maybe are quite peculiar to the Germans. Hope you enjoyed it anyway. If you did so, please leave me a thumbs up, give me a like, and if you've not done so already, please subscribe to the channel. We're going to see if we can get to 5,000 subscribers. We're getting very close now. That would be brilliant. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Macht's gut, Leute.